of course, there are other photographers, artists who make issue with the loss of aura. One of them being Cindy Sherman, a female photographer who's made a series of untitled film still, with herself being in the photograph. But she doesn't consider all these series of photographs. This is Cindy Sherman. But if I can show you just a series of them first, before moving forward to discuss. So this is all the photograph of Cindy Sherman dressed up as the female actresses, as the female stars, that the way they are presented in films. And she's like this one too, like this one also, acting as the photograph acting as one still screenshot from the film, and it's a portrait of women in a film. Of course, it's loss of aura. This is way beyond loss of aura. This is loss of aura because the film, when they present women, because it's not here, not now, so it's not how you would understand a woman, right, when you're standing in front of her. But the way that Cindy Sherman can make it even more feminine, even more commenting on femininity, is how she acts, how she put herself into this film still photograph, and act as the women. So this is a layer. This is another layer behind this films, behind this film stills, right? See, these are the photographs that potentially, or you would find it very familiar, at least living in the 70s, 80s, you would find this photograph, or 60s, this photograph really familiar because you've seen it. It makes you feel like you've seen it somewhere in the films, in one of the films. So what does Cindy Sherman try to get to with this loss of aura, right? The first layer, she's trying to comment, right, that the films of photography, or specifically films that were prevalent at the time, were framing women in one, like symbols, like Marilyn Monroe, like Jackie, like Andy Warhol's, right? Framing women in this, or limiting women to a certain image, and that image is not true, or that image doesn't speak for the women at the time. As again, minimizing, right, these films, they're there for entertainment, for people to watch, but also at the same time, this mediums, film, this mechanically produced images or motion pictures, they also have an impact on the way we understand the world. And in this specific case, they also have impact on the way we understand women. And that understanding is very biased, as Cindy Sherman claims, as Cindy Sherman criticized, that this biased, limited, narrow view, or male-dominated view of women. But this has to be a way to say that, to express that. How does Cindy Sherman share that point of view, criticize that point of view? It's through her series of untitled film stills. There were 69, I think, 69 of them. So from number one to all the way to number 69, with herself being in the picture, acting as the woman, being portrayed by the film. And it's when the audience find these images familiar. Oh, I've seen it somewhere in maybe some of the films. her pun start to be activated, because we fall trap to this film constructed image of women, right? It's that when we found this familiar, that Cindy Sherman called her work successful, that she's able to remind people that, you see, this is how you think of women, and this thinking is not this it's not close, it's not even close to reality, to how women really are, how women really should be understood. It's far away. This is a reality that's far away, because this is not only the film, it's not only loss of aura, it's and this representation of women is also biased. It's manipulating this loss of aura, right? So I think in Cindy Sherman, Walter Benjamin's assertion, this loss of aura, Walter Benjamin's prediction, again revealed itself, because the loss of aura looks like it creates more problem. It creates this biased view, circulated biased view of women, and Cindy Sherman is trying to attack that. And so up to this point, we've gone really far from the invention of photography to photo succession, pictorialist, all the way straight photography, in the photography used in war, new social landscape, the way we use photography to record social landscape that's different from Dorothea Lane's time. And then we arriving at postmodernism, and continuous to today. And that's the timeline, the general timeline for our course today. So this was just a quick review of that. And then very lastly, I want to share some other works to further stimulate your thoughts on what the future of photography would be like. All right, now we have AI. Now we have more generative and regenerative content flocking to the internet every day, flocking into our perceptions, into our lives. How would photography change us without us, the audience, even noticing this, even being conscious about this? And I'll let you read this Douglas Crim's comment on Walter Benjamin, and it's also I want to use this as Crim's way of connecting Walter Benjamin's to today's life, to our life. If you can pause it and read and understand this. About generative and regenerative, we have our last image to look at. Jeff Wall's A Sudden Gust of Wind after Hokusai. After Hokusai, what does that mean? Well, this is an interesting photograph. This is a moment that's pretty accidental, right? It's accidental to a point that it's planned. It's composition print. It's combining multiple negatives all together to make a scene like this. And the reason to make a scene like this is Jeff Wall wants to copy, wants to impersonate Hokusai, the travelers caught in the sudden breeze in Yajiri. You see this woodblock print, right? That's right before the invention of photography. The way woodblock would depict country life, normal mundane life in Japan, the woodblock print. And then Jeff Wall is using his way photography. His way is actually 4 actors, and acting at different places with this papers flying with the gust of the wind, and then in the spanning 5 months, right? Because you have to wait for the right weather condition for this effect to happen, combining and collaging different negative altogether to be able to appropriate this Hokusai's woodblock print. So why this, right? The question comes. This is the woodblock print that Jeff was trying to mock, and this is the result. Why does he want to do this? This is so laborious, so much effort. 5 months, 4 actors. Well, this is a quote from Jeff Wall. If you can get some sense, get some clue from it about Jeff Wall's experiment on this mocking a previous very famous woodblock print in Japan. He says, I felt very strongly at the time that painting as an art form did not encounter directly enough the problem of the technological product, which had so extensively usurped its place and its function in the representation of everyday life. I remember being in a kind of crisis at the time, wondering what I would do. Just at that moment, I saw an illuminated sign somewhere, and it struck me that here was a perfect synthetic technology for me. It was not photography, it was not cinema, it was not painting, it was not propaganda, but it has strong association with them all. It seemed to be the technique in which the problem could be expressed, maybe the only technique because of its fundamental specularity. It's hard to differentiate, it's hard to tell what is real reality. Is this real reality? This is manipulated again. 4 actors, 5 months. But we see it through photography. We seem to believe this is true, this is reality, this is what happened. So when this imagined, designed work of art becomes reality, it reminds us something. It reminds us, heightens the contrast between the real and the fictional. And the real can become fictional. This is fictional. This is designed. And the real is, to achieve, to be able to make a scene like this happen, takes a lot of effort, takes a long time. So this reality, this photography is really saying, this is not real. And this photograph, in return, also shows that, this is photography. You might believe it's real, but it's also not real. The loss of aura creates this whole swirl of reality, of fictional, of the way we understand the world to be ever more complicated. And in this world of complicated representation and re-representation of things, where does photography stand? How should we look? Can we go back to that video of John Berger's, the ways of seeing, the different ways of seeing is constantly being changed. And very lastly, I want to share this quote by Tom Blackwell. Photographic images, movies, TV, magazines, etc. are an important part of our reality as actual phenomena. They strongly affect our perception of actual phenomena. But we read it again and try to understand what it means, what Tom Blackwell is trying to get to. What is the real reality? What is that phenomena? Is it the magazine, the TV, the AI generative things that we see online? That becomes our reality. and our real expensive, the real experience, the aura, comes second now. And very lastly, I just want to share some quotes throughout our course, throughout the semester. We've looked at the different artists, photographer, and some of their quotes that might offer you some inspiration on thinking about photography, the now of photography, the role of the photography, and the future of photography. Thank you very much.